I thought I understood what it meant when life slipped away because I had seen so many people take their last breath in those hospital walls. But what happened to me in July of 2025 showed me that there is so much more beyond what our eyes can see. Before I take you further, I'd like to gently invite you to walk with me in this journey. If my experience stirs something in you, if it reminds you of a moment in your life, or even a question you've carried in your heart, please share it in the comments. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, please subscribe so you can be part of a community that seeks hope, truth, and understanding together. That night, after a long shift at the hospital, I was driving home in the heavy Texas rain. I remember feeling so drained, my eyes heavy, my mind running over the patients I had seen that day. Then, in one blinding moment, everything changed. Headlights flashed, tires screamed against wet pavement, and a violent force struck my car from the side. The sound of crushing metal filled the air, and then there was nothing. I later learned that my body was pulled lifeless from the wreckage. The paramedics worked frantically, but for 3 long minutes I was gone. But here is the mystery: I wasn't gone at all. My body was broken and still, yet I was fully alive somewhere else. At first, I felt myself lifting, as though invisible hands had gently taken hold of me. I rose above the crash, above the flashing lights and shouting voices. I could see everything, the twisted wreck of my car, the rain pouring down on my lifeless body, but none of it could touch me anymore. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't in pain. I was free. And then I became aware of a tunnel stretching out before me, filled with a light unlike any light I had ever known. It wasn't blinding, but soft and full of warmth. It called to me like a home I had forgotten but suddenly remembered. Every part of me longed to move closer. As I entered that light, peace wrapped around me, washing away every burden I had ever carried. The years of stress, the grief of watching patients die, the loneliness I often hid behind my smile, all of it melted away. I wasn't carrying it anymore. I was surrounded by a presence so vast, so full of love, that I felt small, yet completely held. It was as though I was being known fully, every hidden corner of my soul uncovered, and yet I was not rejected. I was embraced. Time didn't feel real there. Minutes and hours had no meaning. There was only love, only peace, only truth. And then, in that place, he began to reveal things to me. Not in words I heard with my ears, but in truths that entered straight into my spirit. He showed me that I was being allowed to see what many ignore. He revealed that what I was about to witness was not for curiosity, but for warning and mercy. My heart trembled, but his love steadied me. I knew then, I was at the beginning of something far greater than myself. As I moved deeper into that realm, I felt myself drawn forward, almost as if the light itself was guiding me. There was no weight on me anymore, no fear, no sorrow, just a stillness that wrapped me in safety. Yet at the same time, there was an urgency in my spirit. I knew I wasn't there only to rest. Something was about to be shown to me, something I would carry back. The first vision opened before me like the sky itself had become a canvas. I saw the earth from a distance, suspended in darkness. Then the moon appeared, but it was not the gentle, glowing moon I had seen countless nights from my backyard. This one was blood red, heavy and strange, glowing with a warning that pierced straight into my heart. I understood. It was a sign not just of nature but of heaven itself speaking. The world would see it, but not all would understand it. Many would explain it away, and in doing so they would miss the truth behind it. Before I could even take in the weight of that sight, the vision shifted again. I was lifted above the land of Jerusalem, the ancient city alive with light. Then the stars began to move. Slowly at first, like tiny embers being stirred, until they gathered together, shaping themselves into a massive cross. It wasn't a faint outline, it was radiant, alive, blazing against the heavens. I knew it was not a coincidence, not an accident of space. It was a message written by the Creator himself, a sign for all who still doubted, a reminder of the sacrifice that had already been made for every soul. I thought the cross was the final vision, but then came something unlike anything I could ever explain with earthly words. I heard a sound. No, I felt it. It wasn't just in my ears, it was in my very being, vibrating through me. It was deeper than thunder, more powerful than music, almost like creation itself was groaning and singing at once. And with it came an understanding. Only those whose hearts were prepared, only those who had chosen to walk in faith, would endure that sound. For others, it would be unbearable, overwhelming, even terrifying. I stood within those visions, trembling, not from fear but from the weight of what I was being shown. These weren't random images. They were warnings. They were signs of something greater, something the world had been told would come, but so many had ignored. I felt his presence again, assuring me that even in the warning there was love. These signs were not to destroy but to awaken. They were the call of mercy before the storm. I wanted to cry out, to beg the world to listen, to see, to take this seriously. But there was no one there except the presence holding me. He revealed to me that it was not yet my time to speak, that I was being prepared, step by step, to carry the weight of this message back with me. The light around me grew brighter and I felt myself being drawn further, deeper. The visions faded, but their meaning remained carved into my soul. Something greater was waiting ahead. As the visions faded, I felt the light pulling me closer, almost like a river carrying me forward. The presence never left me. It surrounded me, strengthened me, and reminded me I was safe even though what I was about to see would be heavy. My spirit could sense something greater was coming, something that would shake not only the earth but every soul living on it. Then it happened. I was lifted and shown the world again, but this time it wasn't still. It was full of life. People working, walking, laughing, arguing. Crowds filled the cities, children played in the streets, families sat together in their homes. Everything seemed normal, almost too normal. And then, in a heartbeat, it all changed. I watched as countless people suddenly vanished. One moment they were there, the next moment they were gone, as if they had been gently lifted away in the blink of an eye. Cars on the roads were left driverless, causing chaos. Planes in the skies lost their pilots. Homes were filled with cries as loved ones searched for those who had disappeared. Confusion swept across the nations. Fear followed quickly after. The world was turned upside down in a single instant. I understood then, I was witnessing the rapture. The moment when those who had accepted mercy, those who had chosen faith and love, were taken away to safety. And those left behind, were left to face the storm of what would come after. The pain of what I saw was unlike anything I had ever felt. People fell to their knees, screaming, desperate to understand. Some ran to churches, but many found them empty. Leaders tried to explain it away, calling it a mystery, a strange event, a tragedy with no answer. But in my heart, I knew the truth. It was what had been foretold, what God had promised would come. I felt torn watching it all. On one side, there was joy in knowing that those who had chosen faith were now safe, embraced by love, far from the chaos. But on the other side, there was sorrow so deep, seeing those left behind, crying, searching, realizing too late what had been offered to them all along. The presence beside me comforted me, reminding me that even in this, mercy was not gone. He showed me that those left behind would still have a choice. A harder choice, yes, but still a chance to turn their hearts, to seek forgiveness, to believe while there was still time. He revealed to me that the rapture was not the end of mercy, but the beginning of a final call to the world. I wept inside, knowing how many hearts would be broken, how many lives would be shaken. But I also felt hope, that even in the darkest of times, His love would still reach, His hand would still extend to anyone who cried out for it. The vision lingered, and my spirit trembled with the weight of what I had seen. I knew now that I wasn't only being shown signs, I was being allowed to see the very dividing line between those who were taken and those who remained. And then, the light carried me further as if saying, there is more to see. The light shifted again, and suddenly I was no longer just watching from a distance. I was in the vision, standing in the middle of the world that had just been torn apart by the rapture. The air was heavy with confusion and grief. Sirens wailed in the distance. People screamed the names of their loved ones, searching desperately. Streets were filled with abandoned cars, and the sound of crying echoed everywhere. I looked around me and realized I was among those who had been left behind. The weight of it sank into me like a stone. It wasn't just a vision I was observing, it was as if I was living it, feeling every emotion, every fear, every regret. I felt the shock of realizing what had happened. I knew the truth. I knew why so many were gone and why I was still here. It wasn't because I hadn't believed in God. I had. I prayed, I cared for others, I thought I lived a good life. But deep down I had kept parts of my heart closed off. I had believed more in my own strength than in surrender. I had delayed fully giving myself to Him, telling myself, someday. And now in that moment, someday was gone. The sorrow that swept over me was unbearable. I wanted to fall to the ground and cry until there was nothing left inside me. I felt the weight of missed chances, of stubborn pride, of moments where his voice had whispered to me and I had pushed it aside. All of it crashed over me like a flood. But in the middle of my despair, the presence was still there. He did not leave me. He showed me something I had not expected. Even though I was left behind, it was not the end of my story. There was still mercy, still hope. The time ahead would be harder, filled with trials unlike anything the world had ever seen, but the door of grace was not yet closed. He revealed to me that many who were left behind would rise with a new fire in their hearts. They would remember the warnings, the scriptures, the love they had once ignored. Some would fall away in fear, chasing false promises, but others would stand strong, choosing faith even when it cost them everything. In that moment, I understood. I still had a chance to choose. I wanted to scream out to everyone around me, "It's not too late. Turn back now while you still can." But my voice felt trapped inside me and all I could do was weep. Even in my grief, I felt his love pressing in, steady and unshaken. It was as if he was saying to me, "You see now how urgent it is. This is why I am showing you. This is why you must return and tell them." The weight of that mission pressed into me, stronger than the sorrow, stronger than the fear. I realized that my vision of being left behind was not to crush me, but to wake me up, so that I could help wake up others before it was too late. And then, once again, the light began to pull me, leading me further, deeper, toward the last part of what I was meant to see. The light carried me further, and I felt the visions begin to fade into the background. The cries, the chaos, the weight of being among those left behind, it all grew distant like an echo. But the truth of it never left me. It was carved deep inside me, etched into my soul forever. The presence surrounded me once again, stronger than ever, and I felt his love wash over me like waves of living water. In that moment I understood. Everything I had been shown, the blood-red moon, the shining cross above Jerusalem, the sound that shook creation, the sudden disappearance of millions, the grief of being left behind, it was not given to me to terrify or to condemn. It was given as mercy, as a warning of love. He revealed to me that I was being sent back, not because I had earned it, but because he loved me too much to let me waste my life on things that did not last. He showed me that my years as a nurse, my care for the sick and dying, were not the end of my purpose. There was a greater work waiting for me, to testify, to share, to tell the world that time is shorter than we think, and that his mercy is still reaching out. I didn't want to leave that place. Every part of me longed to stay in the peace and light, away from the brokenness of earth. But I felt his presence whispering into my spirit, "You must go back. They need to hear. They need to know." And then, just as suddenly as I had left, I felt myself falling back into the weight of my broken body. Pain rushed into me like fire, air burned in my lungs, and I heard voices shouting my name. Machines beeped wildly. Hands pressed against my chest. I gasped, opening my eyes, and the room erupted in relief. The paramedics told me later that I had been clinically dead for 3 minutes. But I knew, without a shadow of doubt, that I had been more alive in those 3 minutes than in all the years I had lived before. Since that day, I cannot live the same way. Every sunrise feels like a gift, every heartbeat like borrowed time. I carry the weight of what I saw, not to scare anyone, but to plead with love. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't push away the gentle whisper in your heart. His arms are open now, his mercy is here now. Choose him while there is still time. That is my testimony. That is why I am here. Not because I deserve to be, but because his love chose to give me another chance, to warn, to guide, to love. And if even one person hears this and turns back to him, then everything I went through will have been worth it. My dear friend, thank you for listening to my story. If it touched your heart, please share your thoughts or your own experience in the comments. I would be honored to hear them. And if you would like to hear more testimonies like this, filled with hope and truth, please subscribe and be part of this journey with me. We don't know how much time we have left, but we can walk this road together with faith, with love, and with hope in the one who holds eternity.